Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. I wanted to just start this group and welcome everybody in that's coming in. This is a part 1 of a 3 series of the week. So welcome. Thank you for being here. Today's mini coaching session is going to be about how to break a bad habit and create a new one. I did want to mention that this is something that I teach in my masterminds. Unfortunately, the way that Facebook has this set up is you can't do a screen share, or at least not that I know of, you can't do a screen share. So what I'm going to be doing is sharing with you guys kind of like an overview of what this course is. And then if you're interested in learning more, then I can talk to you about what the actual trainings will look like. But for today, this is just going to be a general overview of what it is, what it looks like to break a bad habit and to create a new one, because all of us have a bad habit, right? Have some form of bad habits. It can be anything from biting your nails. It could be eating. Thank you guys for the likes, by the way. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the hearts. Also, if you're coming in, drop me your name. Let me know that you're here. Let me know where you're coming in from. And let me know what bad habits you have. I would love to know what bad habits you have and what you are looking to get rid of, right? Because we're all here for a reason and we all are looking to break something, right? And bad habits, you guys, can come in many forms. They can come in a form of, again, maybe eating late and not picking foods that really fuel our bodies. It could be smoking. It could be eating foods that aren't healthy for us. It could be, I want to know what your bad habits are, because this will really work best if we have an example to go off of. Actually, one of my clients that I work with, her bad habit is she's like super unorganized. So like getting organized is something that she wants to work on. Another client that I work with is hitting the snooze button, right? Like how many of us, give me some hearts, give me some likes or a comment in here if hitting the snooze button is something that you struggle with, because I think this is more for women. We do this, right? We struggle with wanting to sleep in just a little bit longer. So I want to know what bad habits you guys have. If you're watching this on the replay, #replay, let me know that you're in here, where you're coming in from, what your name is, and what your bad habit is. I would love to know. Again, it can be something small. Something small is like biting your nails or, eating some sugar late at night. Or it can be something bigger, like a bad habit, like drinking, smoking. Maybe your diet is off and you really want to, have the right diet to sustain this lifestyle that you're living, a long, healthy lifestyle. Okay. So let's dive in. So the first thing I want to share with you guys is so how to break a bad habit. And the idea is that you break a bad habit and you replace it with a good one, right? A new one. So bad habits, they disrupt our lives. They prevent us from accomplishing our goals. So that's why I wanted you guys to write in the comments what it is that is your bad habit. Because when you break it down, and we're going to get into the science of this, when you break it down, when you have a bad habit, right, it jeopardizes your health, and this is mentally and physically, and they waste our time and energy. So I want you to think about what your bad habit is and really start to think about how this is putting you in jeopardy. You may think that I can just hit the snooze button. It doesn't matter. That's not gonna do any harm, right? You guys, hitting the snooze button every day is keeping you away from your goals. It's taking you away from doing the things that you can get accomplished a lot sooner. It's taking you from spending the time, maybe more time in your business and away from your family. There's so many things that you just really need to know, dive deep into. What is it that's the bad habit? First is to identify it. And then second is, why is it disrupting your life? Why is it preventing you from accomplishing your goals? So that's the first thing that I want you guys to think about. The second thing I want to talk to you about is the science of how habits work, because there's a science that goes into it. So the science, you want to look at this like 4 quadrants, right? So we have the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. And the reward is obviously like the end goal, right? So that is the whole reason why we have these bad habits, because we get the reward that's at the end of this whole cycle. So the process of building a habit can be divided into, again, the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. So breaking it down into these fundamental parts can help us to understand what a habit is, how it works, and how to improve it or how to replace it. Because I'll get into this in a little bit, but it's not all about getting rid of it. It's about replacing it. So the first part I want to talk to you guys about is the cue, okay? So the cue is the trigger, in your brain, okay, that initiates a behavior. And if you take it back to like prehistoric times, right? If you take it back to like our ancestors, this cue was a signal, it was a sign to keep them alive. It was safety. So it was either food, right, for survival. It was location, like where they're living, right, safety. It could be sex, right, so reproduction. It could be water. So all of the things that would keep them alive. But today it looks a lot different. So today our cue could be things like money, power, approval, love, friendship, a sense of personal satisfaction. So for all of us, that is the cue. And I want you to think about like, what is your cue, right? So once you identify like what your bad habit is, what is the cue that is starting this cycle? Okay, so that's the first part of this. The second part is the craving. And the craving, okay, it's the motivational force behind every habit, okay? So without some level of motivation, okay, or desire, without that, a craving doesn't happen, right? So without craving the change, we have no reason to act. So if you think about, for example, brushing your teeth, right? When you brush your teeth, we're not craving the fact that we're brushing our teeth. We're craving the fact that we get this fresh, clean mouth feeling afterwards, okay? But the craving is the feeling of a clean mouth. So I want you to start to identify the cue and the craving, okay? The third step to this is the response. And this is how we react. So think about whatever it is that your triggers are, and then the response that you give to these habits, okay? So the response is an actual habit you perform, which can take the form of a thought or an action. So again, let's go back to the example of hitting the snooze button, right? So like, what is the response to that alarm going off, right? I either hit the alarm and it goes off, or I get up. It's like two options, right? And there's an action and a thought that go into that. So a habit can occur only if you're capable of doing it, right? So let me break it down like this. If a particular action requires more physical or mental effort than you're willing to put out, than you're willing to expend, then you're not going to do it. So for instance, I had a client, we were talking about her jumping on social media, right? And she's like, I jump on first thing in the morning, and I know it's like the worst thing for me to do. And I was like, well, what if you logged out of all your accounts? And like, you didn't know, you like changed your passwords to like numbers and letters and signs, right? And then you like did that. And then you put it in your car, like in your car charger overnight. And you stuck it like in the car, in the garage, or down the street. You wouldn't be able to log in as easily first thing in the morning. It's easy to roll over and your phone's right there and you pick it up and you scroll social first thing in the morning. Like, how many of us do that, right? I want to see like some hearts or just some like feedback on if this is something that you guys do. Because I know a lot of us do this in the morning, and this is a bad habit, right? But if you were to take this action and change all your passwords and change it to something that you need to look up or log into to get the passwords, and then you put it in your car, you put your phone in your car and you parked it down the street, how much easier would it be for you to do this first thing in the morning? It would be a heck of a lot harder to do this, right? So it's the fact that the action requires energy to put out to do this. But if you can make this harder on yourself to do, then it won't be as easy to do it, right? So a habit can only occur if you're capable of doing it and you're willing to expend the energy that you feel like it's worth doing it. So maybe if you're like, well, I got to check social, I got to run my business off of my phone, you're willing to run down the street, grab your phone out of the car from a block away and get it, right? But if you're like, you know what, I don't really need it first thing in the morning, I'm going to just let it go, right? Then you start to weigh what that effort is that you want to expend. And then the fourth part to this is the reward. And so the response that you give, which we just talked about, delivers a reward. So the cue is about noticing the reward. The craving is about wanting the reward. And the response is about obtaining the reward. Okay? So we chase rewards because they serve two purposes. One, they're satisfying, and two, they teach us, right? So I want you to think about, again, go back to whatever your particular habit is, your bad habit. This is a bad habit, okay? What is it? What is the reward that you're chasing? So if someone's hitting the snooze button, the reward is sleeping in and getting more time to like shut eye, right? If you're social media scrolling, the reward is like feeling the connection. It's feeling connected to like the outside world, right? So like, what is it that you're chasing after? And then at the end of this, now that we've identified each one of these pillars, right? Each one of these quadrants, I want to tie it all together for you, okay? So we have the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. So together, these 4 steps form this neurological feedback loop in our brains, okay? And ultimately allows us to create automatic habits. So again, if you're thinking back to whatever it is that you do as a bad habit, it's so fast, it's so automatic. We don't even think about the breakdown of the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. We just do it, right? So first I would say identify it. Identify what your bad habit is, okay? And then secondly, I want you to know it's not gonna happen overnight. Like, we have to understand that you can do something about this, but it takes anywhere from 21 to 30 days to break a habit. So maybe putting your phone in your car for 30 days and having it down the street, or maybe you eat sugar, right? Late night. And you're like, I put the kids down to bed. And then after I put them down to bed, I've been really good all day. So now I deserve a piece of chocolate, or now I can have a drink, right? Like whatever that looks like for you. Give yourself the time. Know that it's not going to happen overnight. It takes 21 to 30 days to create this new habit, okay? And it's the consciousness and the consistency that will help create a new habit. And it takes far longer, keep this in mind, it takes far longer to break an existing habit than it does to create a new one, okay? So let's get into ways to create good habits and break habits, right? But I also want to get into what causes bad habits, okay? So there's about 2 or 3 things that cause bad habits. The first thing is stress and boredom. So habits like biting your nails or drinking or overspending, so like going out and shopping and not really knowing where the money is going, are all bad habits that can be attributed to stress or boredom. Think about it. Like, think about the root of where these bad habits are coming from, okay? And then the third thing to think about is a false belief. What are the false beliefs that you are telling yourself about this bad habit? Are you saying, oh, well, again, I can hit the snooze button, it's not going to affect me, or I can spend money on this, like it doesn't matter, it's not a big deal, or I can have that drink at night or have that sweet at night, it's not going to affect me, right? Those are all false beliefs we're telling ourselves. So you have to get like to the root of it, like dive deeper. And there's something deeper at the root of this bad habit, okay? So it's either a fear, it's an event that caused you to think like this, a limiting belief, okay? And it's causing you to hold on to something that you feel is protecting you, okay? And it's recognizing the bad habit, and that's crucial to overcoming it. You've got to know what it is before you can overcome it. So the next part to this is you don't eliminate a bad habit, okay? You replace it. And all the bad habits that you have right now, good or bad, are in your life for a reason, okay? In some way, these behaviors provide a benefit to you, even if they're bad for you, okay? So again, go back to whatever these bad habits are: overspending, drinking, eating foods that aren't good for you, biting your nails, smoking. Like, in one way, shape, or form, you have put a limiting belief in your false belief in your minds that's protecting you, that's telling you, I'm doing this because, like, you're allowing the excuses to come up instead of getting real with yourself and saying, you know what, I really shouldn't be doing this, and this is why. This is preventing me from getting to this other level. And I know you guys want to level up. And I know you want to create a life for yourself and your kids where you're like, you know what? These excuses and the things that I'm telling myself are unacceptable. But you have to break through that limiting and false beliefs before you can do that, okay? So I want to get into ways on how to break a bad habit. And these are just some tips. I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll do 6 ways on how to break a bad habit, okay? So the first one is to choose a substitute for your bad habit, okay? So instead of, hey Jennifer, thanks for popping on. Instead of eating sweets at night, okay, I want you to choose a substitute behavior for this bad habit. Go for a walk, drink a cup of tea, brush your teeth, find another activity that you can do. Imagine like sitting down on the couch, right? And you sit down on the couch and you pick up the remote and you're about to turn the TV on. It's late night. You're like, you know what? I could be investing in myself right now, or I could be going for a walk, or connecting with my partner, or spending time with my kids, or investing in myself, right? Like, you need to understand that whatever it is that you're doing, you need to substitute the bad behavior. And then the second part of this is out of sight, out of mind. So understand what triggers your bad habits. Going back to watching TV, maybe it's you come and you have your place that you sit on the couch, and you know where that controller is, and you pick it up, and in your brain you're wired to just sit down and automatically turn the TV on and maybe have a bowl of ice cream or popcorn or whatever it is that is your like guilty pleasure, right? So you have to understand the triggers that go into it. Maybe you eat a whole row of cookies while you're sitting down watching TV because you're just in the habit of doing that. So understand what triggers your bad habits. Maybe for you, it's, I don't know, let's say shopping, right? You go to Target, you go to the mall, and you're like, I'm going to go to that one store, but then you get distracted, right? Or you're shopping online and all of a sudden things start popping up and you're like, I need this and I need that, right? Understand what your triggers are, okay? Make it easier on yourself to break bad habits by avoiding the things that cause them, okay? So that's number 2. Number 3 is get an accountability buddy. Instead of doing it by yourself and saying, I'm strong enough, I can do this, pair up with someone and hold each other accountable. We're doing this in my masterminds. All of the ladies that come in and I did this as a birthday offer, but I'm extending this offer for this week to all the women that are in this group and only in this group. Okay. When you sign up to be a part of my masterminds, that goes for 3 months. We do June, July, and August. You get to bring in an accountability partner with you for free into my group. So it's very, very hard to do this by ourselves. And when we're trying to change behaviors and habits, right, it's in the beginning, before you make this a habit, it's hard. But when you have the accountability and knowing someone else expects you to show up and be a better version of yourself, it's easier to hold yourself accountable because you're also holding them accountable, and vice versa. So in this aspect of the masterminds, where I have all these girls pushing for more in their relationships, with themselves as a mom, in productivity and organization, and all of these things where we're leveling up, it's so important to have this accountability partner. So as I mentioned, what I'm doing for this next round, starting in June, if you sign up this week, you get to bring in complimentary, free, and another accountability partner. The only exception to this is, and the only rule is it cannot be a man. It's got to be another mom. This is a mom's group. So it's got to be another woman, another mom that's going through the same things that you're going through. So that's the only exception to that. Okay, the next tip for you, the number 4, is surround yourself with people who live the way you want to live. Again, this goes into the whole concept of my masterminds. When you surround yourself with people who are living the way you want to live, okay? And it makes like doing the things that you want to do to level up, and you're surrounding yourself with that, right? It makes getting to the goal so much more attainable, so much more doable, possible. So having this community of other people who are leveling up, and maybe they're a step or two ahead of you, right? You fast track your progress because of this, because you're in a group with other people that are going for the things that you want to go for and leveling up, and you guys are doing this together. Not only do you now have the accountability buddy, but now you're surrounding yourself with someone who's also leveling up and doing the things that you want to be doing. And then the fifth tip that I have for you on ways to break habits is to visualize your success. Don't think that like success is this far distant accomplishment, right? You have to believe that you're here now. What are the wins that you have now? How are you stacking these wins? How are you visualizing your success, okay? And succeeding with things right now, okay? Breaking the bad habit. Like you can't think, oh, when I do X, Y, and Z, I'll break this bad habit. You have to be there now. It's like tomorrow is not promised today, right? So we have to make sure whatever it is we're doing, we're visualizing what the healthiest, happiest, most productive, most fulfilled version of you looks like, okay? And what is that? Maybe you're like, I'm not the most organized person. You have to start visualizing yourself as organized now, not thinking, well, when I, get that organizer, that planner, I'll be organized. No. You got to do it now, okay? So those are my 5. Oh, you know what? Let me do one more. I'll do 6. And the 6th one is do a review when you have a bad habit relapse, right? So like none of us are perfect. None of us are going to just dive in and be like, I got it. I got this whole thing covered. I broke this bad habit. I said I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to do it. Listen, if you have a slip up or 2, it happens. And this is why we have accountability partners in place. This is why we surround ourselves with other people who are living the way that we want to live. Because when you have these things happen, right, it's very easy to make excuses and then just not go back to them. But you have to forgive yourself, okay, and just get back on track. That's all you have to do. It's very, very simple. But a lot of people see it as an excuse. They shut down, and then they just fail at it because and I say fail, not because they got off track. I say fail because they give up. There's a difference. Okay. So I want to leave you with just a last few thoughts. Okay. And the first step to all of this, right? Like, where do you start? We want to break the bad habit. Now we know the quadrants of why habits are formed, how they're formed. So like, where do you start now? You start with awareness. You start by simply just tracking the bad habits that you have, and you become aware of it, okay? You become aware of the behavior, and you give yourself plenty of ideas for stopping it. And I want to give you a few little bullet points to think about. When does your bad habit actually happen? Where are you? Like, when are you doing it? How many times a day are you doing this? Where are you when you're doing this bad habit? Who are you with? Are there certain people that trigger these bad habits? Okay, and then the next one is like, what are the triggers? There could be people that you're with that are the triggers, but there could be actual triggers. Like I was saying, when you sit down on the couch and it's your spot, and that's where you have your cookies and the chips or whatever it is that you have, and the remote control's there, and you just sit and you go into the oblivion of TV or Netflix, right? So what are the triggers and the behavior, and what causes it to start? You want to make sure that those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things are identified, okay? And at the end of the day, remember that breaking a habit takes time, effort, and consistency. So now you know exactly the science behind how it works, how to create good habits, break bad habits. Know that a bad habit you just don't get rid of. You have to replace it with something good. And I gave you 5 or 6 ways on how to break these bad habits. So I want to hear from you. I want to know what bad habits you have, how you're going to start to create good habits by getting rid of the old ones, right? Get rid of the old ones. What are your triggers? And then what are you now going to put in place? So that is a little mini training for today. I hope this helps. Like I said, I want to hear from you. Maybe also you have a friend and you know she has like kind of a bad habit. I want you to tag this. I want you to screenshot this, tag me in it, and tag her in it and say, listen, this is what you need to listen to, or tag yourself in it and say, what bad habits are you struggling with right now? Because I would love to hear so I can help you with this. So have an amazing day. Thank you guys so much for jumping on. I'll also be on again tomorrow. Tomorrow will be another session that we're going to go through, a little mini session. And we're going to just keep it short and sweet. We're going to dive right into these and just really talk about each one of these little mini subjects. So tomorrow's topic, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to talk about, this is a good one, how to stop procrastinating and start getting done. How to start getting ish done, all right? So 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. Pacific. Okay, we're going to dive into that. And yeah, so I will see you guys tomorrow. Have an amazing day. Again, if you're watching the replay, #replay, let me know what your bad habits are and if this has helped you. And then also tag a friend in here as well if she needs to see this video. All right, guys, have an amazing day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.